time to really start preparing and thinking about lawn renovations, which are coming up really, really soon. So today I'm going to run through what you should do before you start doing a lawn renovation and what you should have ready for the time when you start ripping into your lawn and renovating it, getting it ready to have its best season ever. So I'm getting this mower ready today because today we are going to do a light scalp. Now I'll talk about why we're going to do that later, but first let's start talking about cleaning out your area so that it's fresh for the springtime. Unfortunately, this next clip I filmed didn't have any audio, but I was talking about first thing you need to do is clean out all the weeds from your area. So you've got to kickstart to let those areas that bare spots maybe are where you spray the weeds out to pull them out are going to fill in once you do your lawn renovation. So a couple of weeks ago I put out some bow and arrow on this area here and the weeds have been knocked really, really hard, as you can see from this weed that I'm holding in my hand just here. Sometimes you may have to do a follow-up application. So you may have to do a follow-up application if you haven't seen the weeds die off in about 2 to 3 weeks this time of year. But yeah, just make sure you clean out your area, get rid of any broadleaf weeds. If you've got some grassy weeds, something like lawn row is a great way in Kikuyu and buffalo to actually get rid of your grassy weeds, even some ryegrass and stuff. And if you're looking at cooch and zoysia, something like tribute is also a way to go. But make sure you clean that area out, get rid of those weeds so you're gonna have a clean slate for this lawn renovation. It's also getting close to time to putting down a pre-emergent, which is going to prevent grassy weeds and even some broadleaf weeds coming up through the spring and the summertime as well. We won't be doing that yet. The soil temps aren't quite warm enough. I mean, if you're in somewhere like Queensland, you could honestly start thinking about it very, very soon in the next week or two. Here in Orange, I won't be applying till the end of August or the start of September. Place like Victoria and that as well, you can wait until that time. But if you're in Brizzy or something, or even in Cairns, even over in Western Australia, you can really start thinking about applying in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'd really get on top of that. So that's going to prevent any of those nasty weeds for you, not do any damage to your turf, but stop weeds coming up, and it will not kill the existing weeds in there. I'll do a more detailed video on this too once the time comes for me to put it out. But it's also time to start thinking about putting an insecticide down. So I've been using a Aceleprint for the last few years and it's been really, really good. Great at protecting your lawn from when the beetle lay their larvae in the turf, which is round about, depends on where you live. Normally September, October, you'll start seeing some damage more towards summer, but you want to put this down before they do anything. So I again normally apply it around my pre-emergent application. So the end of this month, which is August, start of September. Again, if you're in Brizzy, they will lay them a little bit earlier. So it's smart to get on top of them nowish if you can. Definitely be prepped to get that out. Now you can apply these products before renovation, or you can apply them after renovation. It really depends on when you're timing your renovation and when you are going to put it down. I'm going to do a little bit of an early reno this year, probably towards the end of this month. So I'll probably put it out after I've done my renovation because that will be in the application window for me. We'll see how it goes though when the time comes. It has been a bit of a warmer season this year. You've got to be aware of that. Like it feels like spring today. I'm wearing a t-shirt, so we may actually be putting it out in the next 2 weeks. I just got to look at the soil temps. Now you can also think about getting a granular fertilizer out now to push a little bit of growth before your renovation. So I'm going to put out a granular fertilizer next week on the Kikuyu here because our soil temps are starting to come up. I'm starting to see some blossoms on the trees down there, which is a good telltale sign that your soil temps are starting to come up. Being a little bit warmer this year just because of less rain, and we're looking at possibly going into a drought, which fingers crossed that we don't. So get a granular fertilizer out. I'm going to be putting out some of my Dominate fertilizer. Also my Stimulate fertilizer is not a bad fertilizer to look at for this time of year, or even my Reinstate as well. So I'm going to kick it into gear before you do your reno, just so your lawn is growing, so you're going to get it to actually repair quicker after that as well. So I'd like to do that a week or two out from when I actually do my lawn renovation. If it's 3 weeks out, that's fine as well. 4 weeks, it's also going to be fine because these are controlled release fertilizers, so they're not going to get a big kick and then 1 to 2 weeks later, nothing's going to work with them. But yeah, start about thinking about doing that as well. Now, down to the fun stuff. So as I mentioned today, we're going to be scalping with my X380. You can do it with a push mower. I'm just doing it with that because we're not doing a heavy scalp today, but we are going to go the lowest setting on this mower. So we're going to be collecting a ton of material today. And when it comes to renovation time, I'll use my walk behind push mower, which is the Super Swift Big Bob, which will cut down nearly to dirt and really, really clean this area out. The reason we do it is because we're getting rid of the above ground thatch when we're scalping, all the thatch that's in there, the dead material. You can see there's a ton of it after winter time. when this hasn't been growing and it hasn't been able to break down. So we want to get rid of all that so we get oxygen back down into this area just here. And we'll also do a Scarify when the time comes to get our below ground thatch. Now, I wouldn't worry about doing Scarifying with buffalo. I wouldn't worry about scalping too low with buffalo as well. Just enough that you're getting some of that dead stuff out of there. You could even use a manual rake if you wanted to and rake it out by hand. But don't go too intense because it will take yonkers for it to come back there. But start looking for some sand now for your top dressing as well. So maybe make an order. I usually go about 1 cube per 100 square meters of sand. Now, when it comes to selecting your sand, I get questions about this all the time. Go down to your local landscape supplier and see what they've got there. If they've got a 90-10, grab that. If they've got an 80-20, grab that. So it's 90% sand and the other 10% is like soil and organic matter. It's just a mix and a blend, so you've got some organics in there as well. It's just not straight sand. If you can't get that, look for some USGA sand, or you could even get some pit sand, wash pit sand as well. As long as it's not too fine and it's going to cause issues with drainage over time. You want to make sure it's a little bit coarse, a little bit of a mixture of fines in there as well. You just don't want it to, a good way to test it is grab a clump of it, a wet clump of it, and hold it together in your hand, like squeeze it. And if it holds together really, really firmly, it's probably going to be a little bit too fine. If it's wet and you hold it together and it breaks apart way too easily, it's probably going to be a little bit too coarse. So that's a way to choose your sand. There's always going to be something out there you can find, but the reason we use sand as well is because when you top dress with sand, it's not going to break down over time. I used to use this stuff called Nitro Top Dress from A&L here, sorry, my place in town, and it just used to break down all the time because of all the organic matter in there and it's soil. So it's never going to hold your levels as well as sand will. Lastly, make sure you book out a core aerator or find someone that can come and do it for you, because people are going to be booking already. So you don't want to miss the boat and not be able to get your hands on one, because it gets pretty popular this time of year and people really get on top of it. So book one out if you can now, organise your sand, get everything prepped to do it within the next month if you can. Now, if you're somewhere, I know a lot of guys don't like doing it super early in Victoria and in New South Wales. Some guys like to wait till October, November, December. Honestly, it's not a problem. We used to do our bowling green reno at the golf course. We used to do that in December, that's just because when we took it out for play, and it was fine. We still had enough months for it to recover. It used to be back in play in about a month or less than a month, 3 weeks from memory. So you can definitely do your renos later in the season. I just wouldn't be thinking about doing it in late February and March. Definitely look at this time of year. If you've got cool season grass, you're fine to do a reno February, March, April, and oversow some grass in there as well. Or if you've got warm season grass and you're looking to oversow, you can do that time of year as well. But let's rip into scalping this area with the mower. Let's see how much material we get out of here. Let's clean it up. Let's get some oxygen in there so it starts growing a little bit as well before we run into our warmer months. Because as soon as we pull out a lot of this above ground thatch and the dead material in there, it's going to be able to breathe so much better and give it a little bit of a head start before our renovation comes in. So as you can see here, this is Scalp. We can actually see the dirt down in there. Now the reason I like using that John Deere X380 is because it sucks up all the dead stuff out of there as well. And most of your rotary mowers with a catcher on the back will do that as well. So just make sure you don't mulch it back in, make sure you collect it and get rid of that material as well, because we're not actually pulling out any of the dead stuff from underneath because it's actually all been pulled out from there. So that's the lowest setting on that mower. We definitely need to go lower than this when it comes to reno time. Generally what I like to do is I like to scalp, Scarify, then do a core aeration. Sometimes I'll put down some fertilizer, then top dress, or generally I like to actually top dress first and then put down my granular fertilizer afterwards, my insecticide and my barricade as well, and just let us do its thing. Water that in. But yeah, this is at like 1 inch at the moment. We're basically gonna get this down to dirt very, very soon, but this should now get a bit more heat down into it. I mean, if we get a frost, it will probably knock it a bit harder, to be honest, but I'm not too worried. The temps have been warm and they're only getting warmer by the look of the outlook, so early reno this year, I think. Now this season I won't be doing a reno down at the golf green. This season it's just I'm gonna let it fill in, get nice and thick. We're gonna start doing like weekly grooming, probably once things start to warm up. I could probably almost start thinking about doing it now to be often. We're gonna do regular top dressing 1 to 2 times a week. Get rid of some of the nasty undulations up on the edges where it sunk a bit because I didn't compact it enough before I seeded the area. But this season a lot of work's going to be done just with regular maintenance, which you guys can actually follow along as well on your home lawns. Really cool to do on a Cooch lawn, a Zoysia lawn and a Kikuyu lawn as well. A lot of what I'm going to be doing on this green, especially if you guys are cutting at a lower cutting height below 15 mil and you're using a reel mower as well. But yeah, it's going to be ongoing maintenance, not a full renovation, but just cultural practices like grooming, top dressing regularly, mowing quite regularly as well, getting my fertiliser out quite often. I'll put down some aceleprint on the green as well to prevent grubs. I will not be putting a pre-emergent out though. Not safe to put pre-emergent on bent grass, especially with traffic and stuff on there. And to be honest, we're not going to get much in there apart from a little bit of poa, which I'm planning just to hand pick out. So poa is winter grass. I'll be hand picking it out whenever I see it. And not really using herbicides like that on the green. I mean, I've had basically no weeds come up in here. I saw one poa plant since I've seeded this, and I just picked it out. Very easy to see, especially when you're fertilising every now and then. It does look a little bit more lime green and stands out just that little bit more. But seriously, look how tight this surface is looking at the moment. Just loving it. It's just going to love being groomed. We're going to try to get this thing super fast this season, and I'm really excited about it. Now, if you guys have any questions about the lawn renovation process, how to plan as well, make sure you flick me a message in the comments below and I'll try and get back to you as much as I can. I have got a monthly newsletter coming out at the moment as well, so if you want to be included in that, I'm going to set up a link on the website so you guys can check that out. That'll have information on how to prepare for lawn renovations as well, how to do a lawn renovation, and just steps throughout the season on how to best keep your lawn going. So keep an eye out for that on my website, lawntips.net. All the products I talked about today, again, are available there. Appreciate your guys' support, but I'm excited, man. This is going to be an awesome season. Planning to get some irrigation started on the fairway next week after turning it over once and pulling the rocks out. Let's get things done. I'm excited. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate yous. And I'll see you guys in the next vid.